Guys, Greg, Brad, thanks so much for coming down.
Thanks.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Great to be here.
Okay, wonderful. So let's start with maybe just a quick intro. Brad, do you want to talk about who you are, what you're doing at Qualico?
Sure. My name is Brad Armstrong. I'm the Vice President Community Development for Qualico Communities. Qualico is a fully integrated real estate development and home building company. Still family owned. We've been in business for over 70 years now. We're really proud of our tradition and heritage here in Western Canada, and we've been building homes and communities in the Edmonton region for over 60 years now.
Okay, fantastic.
Greg Caldwell. I'm Director of Utility, Hydrogen Strategy and Decarbonization. It's a bit of a mouthful. And
it's a great title.
Work for ATCO Gas and Pipelines Limited. So we deliver natural gas to about 1.3 million Alberta homes and businesses, and my job is to try and figure out how we can fit that into a net zero world and start to decarbonize it.
Okay, that's fantastic. So people might, if they're watching this and talking hydrogen. Why is a developer here? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, why is Brad here? Why is Qualico here after all? Well, we build new communities, and of course, in the home building industry, the federal government has some ambitious plans to work towards net zero by 2030. So at Qualico, we're trying to be ahead of that curve and look at ways. We don't want to just be ready to build net zero in 2030. We want to beat that schedule, right? But we had this opportunity. We've been working on this for quite a number of years. It's a brand new community in Strathcona County, which is just east of the city of Edmonton, borders it on the eastern edge. And it occurred to us a couple of years ago, like with all of the increased information that's out there, the change in technology, and then the race to actually decarbonize. There was a real opportunity right there in Strathcona County to look at why don't we do a pure hydrogen community. So it started as an idea 2 or 3 years ago. We've been working with ATCO for about two full years now, and if we're able to pull this off right from the beginning of a new community, then that really takes us a long way down the road towards building a net zero community.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to play with that a little bit, Greg. So there's lots of projects, here around the world that are doing blending, whether that's 5%, 15, maybe even 20% in some places in Europe. Even the convention center that we're in is actually running partially off hydrogen. We think it's the first convention
20%,
center.
20%.
20%. That's a pretty rich
Proudly
blend.
provided by ATCO. Just got to get our dig in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we think it's the first convention center in North America, maybe the first in the world to be running partially off hydrogen. So it's a huge kudos to you and your team. Yeah. But I'm wondering that, Brad said pure hydrogen. Yep. So that's not 15, 20%. No. That's 100, right? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so the answer really simply is the same way we do natural gas. We just use the same infrastructure all the way to the homes to deliver 100% hydrogen. We put the same odorant in the gas so you can smell it, and then we do hydrogen appliances. So we've worked with Qualico and another company called Gradient Thermal here in Alberta. It's a Calgary-based appliance manufacturer that they have a commercial natural gas combi boiler, so it does all your heat and hot water in one box.
Wow.
And same size as a furnace, like an on-demand hot water tank, and it runs on pure hydrogen. And so the idea is, as a homeowner, you wouldn't notice anything different. It's just like, turn up the thermostat, turn on the shower. It's going to be the exact same experience, but you're emitting no carbon emissions. And on top of that, we get asked about safety a lot, and I will say it is just as safe. And you can take my name and take that engineering stamp, and happy to get into that. But the idea is, Brad talked about it a little bit, but they have these communities that home builders, developers need to build in Alberta. We have so many people moving here. We have economic growth, and affordability is one of the biggest keys to attracting people to this province. And if we don't get this transition right between hydrogen and electricity and how we use these things, we won't maintain affordability and won't maintain that competitive advantage. And part of doing that is using that infrastructure that we all use today.
It's really amazing. Is there another project or community in the world that's doing this?
Yeah.
Are you among the first?
Yeah, so there is a community of 13 homes in the Netherlands that is running pure hydrogen today. Now that's a retrofit, so these are 150-year-old homes. They're stunningly beautiful architectural masterpieces, and the reason they've converted them to pure hydrogen is you're not allowed to put solar panels or heat pumps on those homes because they're architecturally protected. So think of something you absolutely don't want to do damage to because it's considered, special.
Like a heritage building.
A heritage building. And they've put pure hydrogen in them, and the public is living in those buildings today.
Wow. So the first mover in the world is 13 homes. How many homes are we talking about?
So the real opportunity is to start from scratch, right? Build this community as a pure hydrogen community from the very beginning, rather than to have to go into it later and convert it, which creates its own challenges. It's possible. It can be done, from what Greg and ATCO tell me. And so the community, why we've identified this one is because it seems to be dovetailing quite nicely in terms of the timing of everything. We plan to be in the ground this year. And but it's going to take us 2 years to start, to actually get all of the on-site servicing complete, because we're starting from scratch.
Sure.
It's about the entire community is about 5,000 acres. Sorry, I'm still, imperial units and stuff, but it's about 5,000 acres, and it's designed for 80,000 people.
Wow.
So about 37,000 homes over the next, 50 plus years.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, that will be probably one of the largest projects in the world then.
Yeah, there's nothing that compares to it from a scale perspective in the residential development. There's commercial there too, but residential commercials, there's going to be schools and businesses and stuff like that. So, that's why as ATCO, we really worked really hard with Qualico to try and get this across the finish line, because you don't get too many options to develop it's honestly a new municipality almost. It's that big, even though it's part of Strathcona County.
We don't call it. It's actually, it's an extension of Sherwood Park. So we're building the city of Sherwood Park in Strathcona County.
Yeah. So it's just it's a city built beside a city, and as much as retrofits of communities are a great possibility, I think we have to start here. And it's built, designed from scratch for this, and just prove it to Albertans that it makes sense.
Yeah, one of the big themes that we've had through the last couple of days is just the speed and the scale that things are happening here. Last year, the first time we ever hosted this, there was a lot of talk about what's going to happen, what are we going to do, a lot of the challenges. This year, really, it seems like it's more, this is what we're doing, this is what we're announcing, we're moving quickly. And moving quickly isn't something that Canada's really known for. So it's really remarkable. And do you feel like that's actually what's happening here too, is that we're moving from planning to doing, and we're moving at speed?
So we still have some challenges there. Greg and I have been working on this for a couple of years, along with other colleagues of mine at Qualico. And we started by trying to move the needle on the regulatory regime here in Alberta. So we've been working on that for over 2 years now. And there has been some interest in doing that, but we have to go in certain steps, right? So we still have to achieve those changes to the regulation. But we've received some grant funding from the government of Alberta through Alberta Innovates. Back, we applied for it together. They received some funding to help us study that. ATCO is doing the majority of it. We hope to have that done by the end of the year. But as part of that grant funding, we're going to build a demonstration house in one of our existing neighborhoods that will run off of pure hydrogen. Right here in the Edmonton region in Strathcona County is the plan, and we're going to have pure hydrogen coming directly from ATCO. So we are doing things. We just need to get over those last few hurdles, and I think if it's not next year, it's going to be shortly after that. But we'd really love to see our community start off with a pure hydrogen flavor to it.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. We have the codes and standards already exist for pure hydrogen in buildings. Mm-hmm. So ATCO is going to have a pure hydrogen operating center that our staff will work out of in Fort Saskatchewan. summer, fall this year, it should be up and running. Just, again, we're going to live it ourselves to show everyone, like, this is real, it's safe, it's nothing to be afraid of. And and we just need to work with the province to find a pathway, because we are a natural gas utility today, not a natural gas or hydrogen utility. And so, you can take renewable electrons and put them into the electric grid and no one asks any questions. But if you take decarbonized gas and put it in, there's lots of questions.
Yes.
So we're working with our partners at the province to try and resolve that as quickly as possible.
Fantastic. Well, if there's anything we can do to help, just say the word, because it's the right thing to do for Alberta, for Canada, for our region, for sure. So the faster we can do it, safely and securely, because coming into your house, you want to be 100% that it's bang on, and I know you guys are committed to that. There's a lot of conversation around the world about electricity and how we need to electrify everything. It's going to be real hard to electrify everything. Whether it's you can't have an electric car in every driveway and have a power grid that lasts. It's super hard to heat every building in Canada, Alberta, using electricity. The grid's not there. The cost of electricity is a lot higher than the cost of natural gas. So the economics, let alone the infrastructure, it makes a ton of sense to maintain, gas running. So can you maybe speak to, when people ask you, can't we just do electricity everywhere? Like, why do we need gas? And again, hydrogen. What's the answer to that?
Yeah, we might need a whole nother panel on that one, but
we've got 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes, and I want to give Brad a chance to jump in on this. He probably doesn't want to on too much, but I'll do it really quick. We need everything is the answer, and when we're looking at achieving the emission reduction targets, both in Canada and globally, if you rely too hard on the gas network or the electric system, the costs will really, really just, you don't want to know what's going to happen. It's going to be very uncomfortable, unpleasant for consumers. And so the key is that we are going to electrify a number of end uses that do not use electricity today. You brought up transportation, but we need to maintain safety, reliability, and most importantly, to 99% of the people here, affordability. And there's a way to do that with both systems using renewable gases, hydrogen, and low carbon energy. And I just think that the final piece, and I was just talking to someone before I got on stage, is the infrastructure costs of all of this aren't going to be zero no matter what we do. So it's finding the best solution for each region. And in this region, we are extremely confident that hydrogen is going to play an important part. That may not be the right answer for Ecuador, but in this region, we are very confident that is the right answer.
I think we're pretty positive that, if we're successful in Strathcona County, from an infrastructure perspective, it's my understanding, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically the exact same infrastructure that we're using today to distribute gas to homes. And so if there's an opportunity to convert other parts of the region in Edmonton or whatever, then you don't have to build all this big electrical infrastructure. You can take advantage of the gas infrastructure that's already there.
Yeah, he's completely correct. The cost of the pipes and the meters and the furnaces are effectively the same on a pure hydrogen network. If the developer has to go put in the infrastructure for a fully electrified community, the costs are not the same, as well as the cost to the end user to operate are not long-term, not going to be the same. And in Alberta specifically, you don't really reduce emissions that much electrifying today. So we can go build infrastructure that allows, and I know we're out of time, but I'll just say, infrastructure that allows not only developers to decarbonize, but the big industry that people work at, that live in those homes, there really are the emissions issue in Alberta to also decarbonize. And when we electrify, we just can't do that.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, I know you want to jump in. There's a million things we could talk about this. We've got the next session we're just about to start. But I think my key takeaway is you guys are among the biggest and first movers in the world on decarbonizing, the residential homes around, really demonstrating that this is possible by doing it here, that the world can then copy, and that people will vote with their pocketbooks. So it's got to be affordable. It's got to make economic sense. And if it makes economic sense, we're going to move fast, and fast is what we're trying